running. Well, we're going to be recording, so if you don't want your face to show in the recording, you can turn off your cameras now. But we record so that if anyone has missed the meeting and they want to go back to it and kind of see, where we're at or what questions were asked, this is why we have it. We have a lot of presenters tonight, so one going to start now and one at 7. So I'm going to table the minutes for this meeting. If Rachel and Carlos come, maybe we'll do the minutes later on at the end of the meeting, but for now, we're going to table them so we can start with our superintendent, Danielle Domingo.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Francis. So I have a lot of exciting things. First, I want to share my screen. Will it let me? Hold on. I don't know if it'll let me share my screen.
I made you
Okay,
your host.
I just got it. Yep.
Okay.
Screen 2. Everybody see?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so first I want to announce to all of our parents that enrollment for Summer Rising has started today. I'm going to have Esther or Lewis put all the information to support parents in registering for Summer Rising into the chat. One of the things that's very different from last year, which is also very important because we know that parents were very concerned about this from last year. Last year, enrollment was on a first come, first serve basis. That is not the same for this year. So people can go on and register, and then it is a lottery-based process. So we know that that was an issue with District 25 last year. We're excited that it's not this year. So we want to make sure that our parent leaders and PTAs have all the information on how to register for Summer Rising. But you could also direct parents to always reach out to the parent coordinators for support with that process. Next thing is enrollment updates. High school offers are now available. And to access your high school offers, you could go to your myschools.nyc, or you could talk with your school's counselor or visit a family welcome center. 2023 kindergarten offer release. So last week, I know it said today, that came from a CEC meeting. Families of students who applied online to begin kindergarten in the upcoming school year will receive an email notification of an offer that they will be able to accept or decline using their MySchools accounts through May 5th. Families who did not apply online will receive their offer letter in the mail by April 17th. New York City school surveys, and our parent leaders know that both myself, Dr. D'Antona, individual building leaders, teachers, we do use the results from New York City school survey to leverage conversation about what's working really well in our schools and things that schools may need support in. So we do encourage all of our families to visit schools.nyc.gov/school survey now. The deadline to take the 2023 New York City school survey has been extended to April 20th from March 31st. So we ask that all of our PTAs send out that notification to families, encouraging them to take it. Upcoming holidays. I hope everyone came back from a wonderful, wonderful break. We had amazing weather here. And we have this coming Friday, April 21st, schools are closed for Eid al-Fitr. Next is spring state testing. Students in elementary and middle school grades will take New York State tests to support their instruction. And this is also something that we spend a lot of time speaking about as a community, and how we as the district and how individual schools and teachers use state testing to provide supports, acceleration, and multi-tiered systems of supports for all of our learners. So our English language arts exam dates are April 19th and 20th, which is this week. And math exam dates are May 2nd and 3rd. We have 6 District 25 schools participating in computer-based testing for ELA and math. Over the next year, the state is going to require all schools across the state to participate in computer-based testing. But for this year, schools in District 25 are PS 20, IS 25, PS 120, MS 194, PSMS 219, and MS 379 will be participating in computer-based testing. Our District 25 newsletter, did you know that we have a monthly newsletter? You can visit the email the link listed here to view past issues and to sign up to receive newsletters directly in your inbox. We do encourage our PTAs and parent leaders to send the district any type of celebratory information that you would like to include in the District 25 newsletter. I would like to congratulate all of our athletes. We had a District 25 middle school all-star game and championship. A big congratulations to junior high school 194, who won the overall championship. It was held at Townsend Harris High School, and the entire event was run by the Townsend High School students. It was an amazing time for all of our students who participated in. We'd like to thank Townsend Harris High School for hosting us that day. We also have a very, very special relationship with the Special Olympics. Queens Unified Bocce League, last week we had our opening ceremony, but in the weeks prior, we were also celebrated by the Special Olympics and our school's chancellor, and listed on in the news for our work as designing one of the first Queens Unified Bocce Leagues. So last week we celebrated the start of the District 25 and District 26 League. In working with the Special Olympics, it's enhanced our goals to prioritize all students in athletics with opportunities for competition, recreation, and team participation. The unified approach is exactly what we value here in our district: inclusivity and valuing every member of our community, family engagement, and respect for all. So we were really excited. Bocce is only the beginning. I've also asked for a unified basketball team, as well as a unified soccer team. So Special Olympics is really excited that we want to continue with our partnership. And I want to thank Diana Stein from our instructional team for working to make this happen for our students, and for also teaching me how to play bocce ball. As you guys can see, it was fun. We had a great time that day. Here's another example of us working with District 26. We're really excited that we're able to have this partnership with the Special Olympics. So as I had said at our last CEC meeting, and something that I'm going to be speaking about in terms of our unified literacy curriculum in K-5, this spring, I'm going to be hosting virtual events with families and school communities to talk about two things: how we're finishing this school year strong, but also providing an introduction to the new K-5 literacy curriculum that will begin in the 2023-2024 school year. So, are there any questions about my report before I go to our discussion about our unified literacy curriculum in K-5?
No questions in
No
the
questions. Okay. So for many of you that may have been part, let me just stop sharing my screen here if I know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. Oh, there you go. So we're good. Okay, for many of you who were part of, or who had an opportunity to be part of the CEC meeting last week, Anna Arrigo from our instructional team, and she's here with us tonight. Hi, Anna. Looks dark behind where you are. She did a presentation on our district-wide choice to be part of a unified curriculum, and the selection has been HMH into reading. Now, because I know that tonight there are so many different presentations and a lot of really great opportunities planned for you, in speaking with Francis, we are not going to do the presentation that we did at the CEC meeting and today at our DLT meeting, but we are going to provide you the presentation for both of those meetings that describes the curriculum in the chat. So as parent leaders, you will have access to that. It really does break down the curriculum and talk about our why, which I will take a few minutes to talk about. But the important piece is we are engaging in our district in multiple ways. So we started with CEC. Today we presented to DLT. Throughout the month of April, our principals will be presenting 2 SLTs about the district's switch to HMH. And we are offering our parent leaders and PTAs an opportunity to either have supports. So if you choose, you can make this presentation to families. You can also work with your principals and SLTs to make these presentations to families. Or you can ask for somebody from our instructional team to come and assist you. But what we think is very important is that our families are aware that starting the 2023-2024 school year, all of our elementary schools, except for 5 that are already into reading HMH, will be transitioning to into reading HMH. Now, one of the things that we talked about in terms of our why is, you all know as parent leaders, something that we've talked about across the years is that we have worked tirelessly to create rigorous opportunities, opportunities for assessment so that we know our students well, and we will be able to provide them with direct instruction that is standards based. And one of the things that we found in our close look at the instructional core, which is the relationship between teacher, content, and student, is that we found, because of the distance and the differences that were happening across our district with curricula options, it was very difficult for us to provide targeted supports to schools to build capacity along standards aligned rigorous instruction. It was also very difficult for us to assess progress of students when we had different schools using different curriculums. So we had 11 schools using one curriculum, 5 schools using another. Then we had a few one-offs that were using different one-off curricula. And then there were some schools that were designing and writing their own curriculum. We also looked at the transition of something you'll recognize, the transition of work that schools engaged in aligning their curriculum to the Common Core, and then the next generation learning standards. There were definitely gaps in curriculum that we needed to address, and having different curricula across the district was becoming very difficult for us to support. So one of the things that we did is we worked with the central teaching and learning team on core curricular choices, which schools had always had access to. And we asked all of those 3 core companies to come in and present to us what their curriculum had to offer. At that meeting were principals as well as teachers and also UFT representation. And what they did was they broke down the curriculum, they assessed certain elements of it, and then we asked them to select a curriculum out of all 3 curriculum. Into reading was the choice. And now we are working to engage our families in really looking at what into reading is about. So I do encourage you as parent leaders to engage in that conversation, to talk to other parents, to get those questions, to make sure they're being asked as you act as a constituency on SLT, or to make sure that there are pathways for parents to ask questions about the into reading curriculum. So I know I just said a lot, but I want to make sure that I am here to answer any questions that you have. And I cannot believe I just presented all of that in 20 minutes, Francis. but I did not know. So Anna is here with me tonight as well. But if there are any particular questions that families
I'm
have,
President's Counsel. Can I call you?
oh, Esther, you're
Yeah,
not muted. I'm
Simon,
gonna mute.
can you make me a host so I can mute Esther?
Yeah, I don't even know how to do that. Let's see. I don't think I can do that, but Esther, make Francis a host. Okay, so do parents have any questions about curricular changes?
So I'm just trying to recap, Danielle, what you said. So we're trying to make it more uniform within the district so that we can provide more support, which makes sense. So is it like three, is the district picking the curriculum for the whole district? Or,
So we didn't pick the curriculum. What we did was we presented to principals and teachers the options from the 3 core choices. We asked for them to take a close look at the best option, and it was the schools that selected the curriculum, which is HMH into reading. Now we have 5 schools currently that are doing HMH into reading. Your school, Francis, is one of them. 120, I see Lisa, you're there. 120 is another one. But one of the things that I think is really important to discuss is that we have already started working together with the curricula team in the district to create learning pathways where we're going to be working with schools, administrators +1, and by the end of June, all teachers across the district K-5 will be leaving with the first module that they can begin in September. So they will have teachers will have all of the materials that they need to continue to grow within these modules, but there will be a fully designed first module that will be ready to be taught come September across the district. Then what we're going to continue to do is offer summer training for teachers and administrators that want to continue to engage. And we will then start in the fall with professional learning and supports for our schools to make sure that teachers have everything that they need, B, fully understand, and C, are getting the supports both district-wide through district-wide trainings and then by school visits and support visits at each individual school across the district.
thank you, Danielle. Are there any questions for Danielle? I don't see any in the chat, but anyone want to raise?
One last thing that I do want to say is what we're really happy about as well is that parent supports will be consistent. So every parent in the district will be receiving the same types of supports where, you know how sometimes we meet together and somebody will say, well, I received this, and another parent will say, well, how do you receive that? HMH does come with parent supports that we will expand upon, but they will not be different layers of information and supports provided to families. It will be uniformed. There will be opportunities for parents to fully engage in all of the modules, to see all the books. There will all be, and the students will and families will have access to them online. So there will be multiple opportunities for families to see what will be happening across the year and to engage with PTA, SLT, your child's teacher, which is very different than what we have happening now across the district. So we're very excited about that.
Annie from 185 has a question. It's in the chat. New to middle school, any curriculum changes for middle school or only for K-5?
Right now, for next year, only to K. We're only doing K-5, but Annie, eventually this will go to middle schools. But very interestingly, all of our middle schools, except for 2, are currently using HMH. So this year it's K-5. The following year, we're going to be bringing that up to 6 through 8.
Okay.
I put the link to the presentation that was from the CEC meeting in the chat. Definitely, like Danielle said, take an opportunity to watch it. It's a really interesting presentation, and I think it's easy for the public to understand. So I think you guys will get a lot out of that.
The other thing that I also want to point out, and Anna, please feel free to interrupt me, anything that I may be missing, is that currently in conversations that we're having with our building leaders and teachers that are starting to unpack HMH, because they have access to the online tools right now. What they are finding is many of the teaching points, books, expectations within HMH are really aligned to what they're already doing. It is just that the resources are organized and uniform where everyone has the same access to the same tools. So there are some differences in literature, but for the most part, our schools are seeing what they are currently doing within the HMH curriculum. Anna, did you want to add anything?
No, I think you covered it. As a district, as one of the literacy points of the team, we're really supporting our schools with really having all the tools necessary to implement the first module in September for all of our K-5 schools, to really do that with implementation and with support. As a team, we really provided, as you can see in the archived CEC PowerPoint, we really provided them with an overview of HMH and really took our parents and community members through all of the pieces that HMH has to offer for teachers, families, and students to really go through all of the pieces that our K-5 students will be immersed in. And a lot of the structures are embedded in our schools already. So what we're really going to be doing is taking our teachers through the tools and the resources within the modules in the month of May. For the month of May, we'll be unpacking the curriculum with our classroom teachers and really outlining what are those necessities that they really need to fully implement this in September. Our goal is by June, this June 2023, is to really give them the lessons, sample modules, resources, tools, access. So when they leave in June, they are fully prepared with what they need to do to implement in September for K-5, for HMH into literature.
Okay, does anyone have any suggestions, comments, or questions?
So we want our parent leaders to know that this is something that we do want to support you with. We absolutely recommend that following the SLT engagement, that you ask the school for whatever you might want to need to have in terms of presenting to parents. We know that some of our schools will most likely want to have town halls where they're going to introduce parents to the fact that there will be a change in curriculum. But we want you to know that you can always reach out to Francis or Esther if you need any supports at all from the district. And we are really happy to take part in working with our building administrators and our teachers to support our parents in really understanding the why of this transition and knowing that there will be supports for them as well, and supports in multiple languages. So we're really excited to engage in this conversation. I know that you guys know this from the conversations that we have. There are so many amazing things happening around our schools in terms of teaching and learning. And now we'll be able to have that common resource that we can expand upon that work together. So we were even trying to do some of that cohort work where our schools would come together to talk about the instructional core, and where we got stuck was in that curriculum piece. So if I wanted to go to PS 21 and I was from 209, I may be able to see commonalities in curriculum. I may be able to see, in instruction or commonalities in student work, but the curriculum and our units of study were different. So now we're going to build that together. We're going to grow and learn in that together, and the district will be able to support our teachers in that work together. So we're very excited about this opportunity.
And I'll also be involved in 9 of the SLT meetings throughout our District 25 that I was already invited to for the month of April and May. So I'll also be going through an overview of our HMH into literature for our K-5 schools. And again, as our Superintendent D'Mango just mentioned, HMH really involves the families in the classroom. It really talks about us parents to be us partners and really ensuring that our students, your children, are really becoming proficient readers. And it also gives you an overview of each of the modules your students are going to be immersed in. And it gives you some sample resources to support some specific strategies that you can help your 5-year-olds in kindergarten or your 3rd grader or 5th grader within the curriculum. And it also has multilingual family letters to really support all of the modules and the reading instruction that your child will be immersed in the classroom. So again, we're here to support you, guide you, answer any questions that you may have as a district.
And one last thing, Francis, and then I'm really done. I know that you've heard us speak about our phonics and phonemic awareness in K-5 that we've been implementing this year. That was the first part of our transition for a uniform curriculum. So when we talk about the 5 pillars of literacy, our earliest pillars are phonics and phonemic awareness. So this year, our instructional team has made sure our teachers have a full understanding of Fundations and Heggerty, which are the 2 research-based programs that we have been using across the years. Many of you are familiar with the A, apple, ah, B, but, boy, and the Echo Owl, right? So we've really made sure that our teachers fully understand that program, that they're teaching it as it is meant to be taught, and that they are ready now to go on to that next part, which is the HMH into reading part, where we're looking at vocabulary, comprehension, and the upper level pillars in K-2, and also the 3 to 5 grade band. When we're meeting and training our teachers, we're doing that in grade bands because they have different needs from early childhood to upper elementary. But one of the things that parents should know is Into Reading does have a phonics and phonemic awareness program. We are not using that because that would mean double training. And what we do know is that central offices, and for many years since we've been using Fundations and Heggerty, we're going to continue to use Fundations and Heggerty. That is not a change we're making. Our teachers have really shown some amazing growth in the implementation of that program. So we're going to be continuing those 2 programs, Fundations and Heggerty for phonics and phonemic awareness, and Into Reading will be throughout the K-5 span. Now that's it.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you for your report. Does anybody have any questions at this time before we close out this segment? Okay, I guess not. Well, we look forward to that reading program and watching our students grow.
And
Thank you.
Francis, just so you know, for parents in the chat, summarizing application is there, and you can apply between today and May 1st. So make sure you get that in.
Thank you. Okay, I know we have someone from FACE who's going to be speaking tonight on CEC elections, so I don't really know.
Yes, it's
You have
me,
3 people here, Francis.
Miss Rios. It's
Oh,
Miss
Miss Rios.
Rios.
Okay, Miss Rios.
How you guys doing?
Good, and you?
Do I have the capabilities of sharing my screen?
You'll have in 1 second.
Okay.
So we'll make you a co-host. Let me see, where are you?
I'm trying to, but
I
it's
see it.
not letting me.
Oh, I'm trying to.
Oh, well, let me see, because I see the word. So hopefully.
Everybody can share.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So
there you go.
there you go. All right. Give me 1 second. Okay. Nicole, can you see my notes? Can any of you see my notes on the screen?
No, I don't see your notes.
Okay, thank you. So welcome. We're going around again. We came out to talk to you guys regarding CEC elections, and now it's time to talk about voting. Voting opens up this coming Friday. So I'm going to start the presentation. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ilka Rios, and welcome to the 2023 Education Council Elections Guide to Voting. The purpose of this presentation is to give you an overview of how to vote for candidates running for the seat on the citywide and the education councils. How you vote plays a part in our children's education, and that your participation is important to the 2023 CEC elections. By the time we reach the end, Our goal is that you will have the information you need to vote. After the presentation, we will take any questions. If you have any issues with NICSA, we can have a member of the 2023 elections team be assigned to assist you. So last year, the state law was changed to make community education councils more inclusive. Now D75 parents will get to vote for a representative to the CEC where their students' program is located, regardless of where they live. Excuse me. For example, if you live in District 12 and your child attends a D75 program in District 16, you are eligible to vote for District 16 D75 seat. D75 parents are also eligible to cast their vote for the citywide council for D75 and the citywide council on special education ballots. Education councils help improve our schools. They strengthen school communities and promote student achievement to make our public schools the best they can be. Parents have a powerful voice in shaping the policies and priorities for New York City schools, and your vote will help select the best candidate for your district or citywide council. So who elects the education council members? In 2019, the law around education councils was changed to open voting to all parents of New York City public school students. New York City Schools account, also known as NICSA or My Student, are where parents can view important information about all their students in one place. Once logged into your account, NICSA will tell you the programs your children are enrolled in and what council or councils you are eligible to vote on. How do parents vote? So mark your calendars. Voting begins from April 21st, which is this Friday, through May 9th. If you need a NICSA account, we will help you. Have your phones ready, and we will make sure you can register today. You must have your account creation code and your child's OSIS number from your parent coordinator. Go to schoolsaccount.nyc. Remember, all voting is open to all parents of New York City public school students. So make sure you and all your fellow parents get signed up for their New York City schools account and vote. So there are 36 education councils in New York City. 32 of them are community education councils, better known as CECs, and 4 of them are citywide education councils. So you have the CCHS, which is the Citywide Council for High Schools. You have CCL, which is the Citywide Council for English Language Learners. You have the CCSE, which is the Special Education Citywide. And then you have the CCD75, which is the D75 programs citywide. So this slide here shows you the composition of each council, how many elected members and how many appointees. We can see that the new composition of the Community Education Council with its D75 member, all seats are up for election and the seats that are appointed are open. Current council members may be reelected or reappointed, but they must go through the same process as new parents running for the very first time. So here are 2 examples to explain eligibility based on the student. It is possible to be eligible to vote for more than one council for each student. If your children have an IEP or an L status, that would be English language learners, that would expand eligibility to additional councils. Nia and her family on the left has 2 children, and she can cast 4 ballots, 1 for each of the 4 councils they are eligible to vote in. Pablo on the right can cast 2 ballots. So I'm gonna break this down for you. So Nia has a daughter who's a 4th grader in a D75 program located in a District 24 school. But she also has a son who's a 9th grader in a Bronx high school. So because of that, Nia qualifies for CCHS, the Citywide for High School, the D75 seat in District 24, the citywide for D75 and the citywide for special education. Now she is eligible to get 4 ballots, but on those 4 ballots, she can vote up to 3 names. So technically she gets 3, 6, 9, 12 votes just because of the eligibility of her students. And then you have Pablo, who has a son who's a 7th grader in District 14 middle school, and he's an English language learner. So Pablo qualifies for the CEC in District 14 and the Citywide Council on English Language Learners. And each ballot also gives him 3 votes. So he has up to 6 votes that he can cast. So what is a New York City Schools account? If you need a NYXA account, with your student's link, it's not too late to sign up. There are many benefits to having a NYXA account. You can see your students' grades, schedules, and attendance in all languages. You will have instant access to important documents pertaining to your students. Each parent should have their own separate account. If you are not sure how to get signed up, you can ask your parent coordinator for your personal account creation code. You can then activate your account and vote. If you need technical assistance, we will make sure someone in our team helps you. Do not say, oh, sorry. So, step 1, go to go to mystudent.nyc. So this is the landing page you'll see when you type in mystudent.nyc. Parents vote using their New York City Schools account, NYXA, My Student. Then if English is not your preferred language, you can set your language preference in NYXA. You can also add a student here on Manage My Account. So at the very top here where I have the mouse, you see you can change the language to preferred language. So if you're a Spanish speaker, Haitian Creole, Urdu, Bangla, there's about 11 languages in the DOE if I'm not mistaken. Once you have selected your language, NYXA will ask you to sign out, restart the browser, and sign back in order for the language changes to take effect. So this is what you'll see if you change the language on the screen. So from here, you will see all the information in your preferred language. So you see how this parent changed it to, I don't know if this Mandarin, Cantonese, but they changed it. And now this is what they see when they log back in. So step 2, sign into your New York City Schools accounts. Once you created your account, linked at least one student, and set your language preference, you will then sign in using your username and password ID. We strongly recommend that you add all your children. If you have more than one child linked to your NYXA account, you may increase the possibility to being eligible to vote in more than one council. Step 3, go to vote for CEC. So if you look at the bottom of the screen under the dark blue where it says Parent University, that blue, grayish blue, this is where you would click vote for CEC. Step 4, here you can review the list of candidates. It is important to scroll down the page to view all of the candidates on the ballot. Vote for 1, 2, or 3 candidates. It would be ideal for you to vote for 3 candidates, but your vote will be counted if you vote for 1 or 2 candidates, and that's it. Having NYXA gives you instant access to your ballot. Step 5, here is an example of a ballot with the maximum number of candidates, 3 selected. You cannot give more than 1 vote to any candidate. If you are a candidate, you may vote for yourself. You will have an opportunity to review your selection before you submit your ballot. Once you have reviewed, you will click submit, and when the ballot is submitted, it will close even if you did not use all the votes. Once submitted, you cannot go back. You will get a thank you message. Thank you for doing your part and contributing to the 2023 elections. You will then receive a confirmation number. You will review your receipt, then you will be prompted to go to the next ballot if your child qualifies to vote in more than one council. As you noted in the examples we gave, parents can be eligible for more than one council per child. Reasons why I should vote. We can't emphasize enough how valuable your voice is. As a parent, you are responsible for electing the strongest parents to represent you. If you would like to learn more about the candidates in your district, you can find their statements as well as the recordings of all candidate forums where they introduce their candidacy. This brings us to the end of the presentation. Here's our website and email address for you to save in case you have any questions later. Please share and forward information to your fellow parents so that everybody can play their part. If you are ready to vote, we thank you for your voice and involvement. If any parent in attendance needs assistance with Nixa, please raise your virtual hand or tell us in the chat so that one of our team members can help. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. I'm looking in the chat. Is there any questions from anybody here tonight?
I have a question. Thank you for the
Sure.
presentation.
Let me
Is there
come
a
on
reason why
camera.
we're not allowed to choose 9?
What do you mean?
Because we only
When you-
get 3, we could only choose 3 people,
Right.
9 candidates.
That's a good question. As far as I know, I've never had anybody ask that question. But Lynn, Miss Sanchez,
We're here.
would you like to answer why can't a parent who's voting
Mhm.
pick 9 candidates, vote for 9 or choose 9 versus 3?
Well, this is my understanding and I could be wrong. So Ms. Gonzalez, we're gonna make sure that, because I don't want to mislead anyone. So we'll make sure to get your information and respond back and definitely make sure that this group of folks also get the response that's gonna go to you. It's my understanding that as a parent, wait, what is my understanding? As a parent, you get a vote. Correct me here, and I could be confused myself, Ilka, but
Mhm,
it's one
mhm.
vote per child.
Right,
Yeah,
but
that's not what I'm asking.
she's
There's-
saying when you vote, right? You get
Right.
the 3, you're allowed per child, you're allowed 3 votes
Right,
on that one ballot. She's saying,
right.
why not 9 votes on that one ballot?
Being that there's 9 positions, why can't we vote for the whole council we think would be a great council, which is 9 positions?
But you would have to have 9 children in order to vote 9 ways, right? It's one vote per child. Do you see what I'm saying? So because you have 3 children, or even myself as example, I have 2 children, I would only get 2 votes, 1 vote per
Right, but we're
child.
No, you get 2. This is where you're confusing now. You get 2 ballots. You get 1 ballot per child, but on that 1 ballot, you only get 3 choices. So she's
Oh,
saying,
yes,
right? She's
I see
saying,
what you're
why
saying.
not 9 choices on
Right.
that 1 ballot
I see the
versus 3?
right. Okay, very good question. I'm not even gonna assume at this point anymore.
Right.
What we're just gonna do is we're gonna check in further up and inquire, because it's a
Yes.
really good question. I don't have an answer
Yeah,
to.
I've
Right,
never
so
had
then-
anybody ask that question.
Right,
But
absolutely.
of course it would be me.
And
but
it's
makes sense.
okay.
it's a good question, though.
It's
It's a
a
good
great
question.
question.
There's 9 positions.
Right.
So
Mhm.
right now, we're only allowed to vote for 1/3 of the council, which
Yes.
kind of doesn't make sense. So we should be looking at it as a whole and pick our 9 candidates and still 1 vote,
Yes.
but it's just 9 candidates.
Right.
I guess me looking at it as a former CEC president, I guess it would make it fair that you only get 3 choices versus the 9. Because imagine, like when I was in my district, I come from District 12, everyone in the district knew me. So it wouldn't have been fair that everyone knew me and was voting for me. It wouldn't leave room for everyone else. So I guess it makes sense to just give you 3 choices so that you make the playing field fair for everyone else. But I could be wrong.
Does anyone have any questions or? Thank you. I don't see any other questions.
There's nothing in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking in the chat as well. All I ask is that everyone that's here that is a PA president or on the board, please get your parents out there to vote. That is the push this election. We need parents to vote.
So I just wanna, and I guess, Ilka, you can just, add on to it. So I believe that like myself, my husband has a NISC account that he
Mhm.
never set up.
Hmm.
So we finally set it up.
Okay.
So I'm just telling parents out there that each parent gets
Yep.
their own accounts and
Yep.
their own creation code. So
Yep.
even if you have one, every parent should have their own NISC account with their own user ID and their own password.
Yep.
And so that way you can also vote that way as well. Just wanted to put that out there.
Yes. So it's every parent, guardian, foster parent, anyone who is in charge of the child. If it's a 2-parent household, you all have your own Nixa account to create and be able to vote and take part in these elections.
Okay. Is there anyone else who has any questions? And I would assume that everyone should go to their parent coordinator because they can help you with your NISC account if you have any issues. I don't want you to go on the day of voting. I think you should do it before to see if your NISCA's accounts are working. Because then
And
that way you'll be ready on Friday to vote.
yes, and we understand Friday is a holiday, but we also will be doing a session, 2 sessions that day, so they can log in as well if they need help with Nixa or they have any questions regarding voting. So you can still send parents our way, even though it's going to be a holiday. The elections team will be working.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Rios. Anyone else has any questions? And we definitely encourage you to read all, the information is on the website. And every scroll down to your district for the CEC, you can see all the candidates. You can read their statements, and then you can make your choices. Reach out to other parents and have them vote. These are the people who are going to make decisions for our district, for as far as repairing things or building things in our neighborhood. So please take the time to just look and vote that day. And I think that the voting is until what day?
May 9th, from April 21st to May 9th. So you have a 2-week window of opportunity.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Before we close out this segment? Okay, well, thank you everyone from FACE for being here and helping us and informing us on how to vote. And so we appreciate your support, and we hope that everyone does go out and vote in those 2 weeks.
Well, thank you for inviting us and good luck on picking the right candidates for your district. And I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you.
Lynn put it in the chat so you can watch the candidates. The link is there to watch the candidates. So you guys have a blessed night and hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Face.
I'm just writing this down. Okay, so at this time, we're going to close out that segment. We're just going to open it up before we go into mock elections to some of the issues that have come up this month. Not many, but they have been a few. And so one of the thing is for reimbursements, if you need to get a reimbursement, I know that as parents, we often have to buy things and then get reimbursed later. There's certain forms that need to be filled out where you put the date and you put down what the purchase was for and how much it was for. You put the receipt as well with the reimbursement form. And I just want to be clear that if the reimbursement, let's say the reimbursement is for myself and I'm a signer, I cannot sign my own check for reimbursement, if that makes sense. It has to be 2 other signers. So no members from the PTA are allowed to sign a check to themselves, even if it's for a reimbursement. So I just want to make that clear. because I don't want any, PTAs to be, thought that something's going on, or, something was not done properly. So I just want to make it clear, because sometimes that's not clear. So it would be two other signers, maybe, whoever. We always recommend, mostly officers are signers, president, vice president, secretary. If you have co's in that position, only one from that department can sign. You cannot have two co's sign in the same department. So it's just considered one signature. So I just want to be clear with that, in case you're ever audited, you don't want to see a check that's signed by you and made out to you. Okay, another thing is the financials. PTA's question was asked, how should financials be kept? First of all, we need to keep financials and every transaction that the PTA does for about 6 to 7 years. Keep it in your file, in a file box, and you have to have a binder for every year. And you need to keep that in the office of your school and one in the PTA. So it's almost like two duplicate binders, one in the PTA room and one in your school, so that parents, if they want to view something or see something, they can at any time. We have to be very transparent with our financials, with the school, and with our parents. There's no mystery to the PTA. Parents want to see where the money is going or what was spent. They have every right to. It's their money as well. So it's almost like it's one big bank account for all of us, and we all want to know what's in it, right? So just want to be clear that we always have to have these reports ready. And during meetings, you're really supposed to give out a financial report or an update on the budget to everyone who attends the meetings, so that they can be aware of what money was spent, or what your plans are to spend any monies, if it needs to be voted on, and so forth. I just want to make that clear. And the more organized that your PTA is, the easier it is to find things and to look for things. Any questions? So on that, does anybody have any questions on anything that I have said or want to add to it? Okay. And of course, Esther is here to support you as well. Any questions, just send them to us and we'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. If it's something we don't have an answer to, we will get the answer for you. So please reach out to us with any issues. We'd rather you have a question and do things right than, not have a question and do things incorrectly. So we never want anyone's PTA to be shut down, because then you won't be able to do anything for the students, and we don't ever want that. So please reach out to us. Always refer to the chancellor's regulations. You can find them you can Google and find them. Always have a copy, your PDF and your bylaws. Always have a copy. Any questions you have, just refer to them. So on that note, we're going to go into your upcoming elections. So now is the time that it's April. It's the time that we're getting ready for elections coming up in May or June, when you're going to have them. And this is the time you start recruiting parents and you start talking, and the best parents to recruit are the kindergarten parents, right? Because they're new in the school. They want to get to know other parents, and they're always more than willing to help out. Even parents that it's the last year, you can go to them, but just have these conversations. Sometimes parents, they don't know what's in, most of the questions we get is, well, what do I have to do? How much time does it take? I don't know if I have the time. I have a full-time job. These are things that every parent is going to tell you, but this is why you have to support them and say, as a board, you work together. And if someone can't be there, then you take up the work. And when you can't be there, they take up the work. You work as a team. And schools need you very much, as much as the students do, because we provide a lot of programs and supplies and a lot of fun things for the students. So PTAs are very important, and we really appreciate everyone who steps into those roles. The three mandatory positions are president, recording secretary, and treasurer. A vice president is not a mandatory position, but it is a position that if you would like to have, you can, and it is an officer position. So if someone is a president in your school, you can make them a signer. The more signers you have, the easier it is to do business and to sign checks. But remember, if you have co's, 2 co's in one department is considered 1 signer. So at this time, there's sometimes confusion with the parent coordinator is the one that verifies the parents for these elections. Now you can have elections all in person or all virtual, but you cannot have hybrid elections. Okay, so you have to choose. If you're already doing virtual meetings, chances are you're going to do virtual elections. If you are in person, chances are you're going to do in-person elections. So some of the things, and I have Rachel here. Rachel's here now. Angela, I don't know if she's still here. Is Angela still here?
I think she left.
No, I think she's here. I see her
Oh.
picture.
I'm here.
So I just want to go over. So sometimes when we do virtual elections, we say that the parent coordinator is going to be a host in the term of a Zoom host. A Zoom host is different from a hosting the elections, if that makes sense. So no one from the school is supposed to be hosting or running your elections. It has to be the PTA nominating committee. Who is going to be your nominating committee? It could be 3 or 4 people, right? We need someone to take notes. We need someone to run the meeting. And obviously these people who are going to be your nominating committee cannot be running for a position because it wouldn't make sense, right? So start gathering people who may be the best parents for those for the nominating committee are parents who are graduating out. They cannot run anyway. So you can go talk to those parents. Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you just run over our elections? And there's a script. There's everything that you're going to need to run this election. And you can make your own script, but there are scripts online that you can use as guidance. And, and it can help you along the way. So a parent coordinator, sometimes people get confused because you put them as a host. If a principal shows up to a meeting of anyone from your school that is not a parent, we recommend that you put them as a co-host, because if there's a ballot that's going to be sent virtually, those people cannot vote. And if you are a co-host, you will not receive that ballot. You will not be able to vote. Or you can ask them to leave during the voting time, whatever you decide to do. A parent coordinator is just there to verify parents. They create access codes to be able to identify parents so that nobody knows who's voting for what. And, only the parent coordinator would know that. But the parent coordinator doesn't really get to see who voted for what, because it's just anonymous when the voting results are shared. Do you have to share the voting results? It'd be nice, because then you're transparent, right? And you get to show what the results were. Before you share anything, make sure that everyone has voted, or at least give people ample time to vote, because sometimes not everybody votes. Some people don't want to vote, but maybe have a button to abstain so that at least you get an answer. But you give people enough time before you close it out. Okay, so we're going to do a mock election. Before we do that, does anybody have any questions on elections or anything like that right now? Anyone? Okay, so here we are. So I'm going to pretend to be the nominating committee. Okay, and Esther is going to be my parent coordinator. So Esther is not going to be saying anything about the meeting other than verifying parents. So Esther has created all access codes. So for the sake of, I will show you what it would look like, not for me because mine would say host, but like say Esther's would say parent coordinator. I'm gonna put Rachel. I'm just gonna pretend. So this would see, if you could see Rachel. And I'm not gonna do that to everyone, but where's the box? If you look at the box on, what did I do with you? Where are you, Rachel? I just gave you I just renamed you and I don't see, oh, there you go.
Eight,
So
one, two,
Rachel
four,
there,
five.
if you could see, it says BC 12345. Now, obviously, the access codes can be anything you want it to be. The parent coordinator can make it up. They can make numbers. They could be part of the school and then their own numbers. It's just a way to identify that that person can vote. So sometimes when you go into a meeting, they give you access codes prior. So when you sign on to the elections, you come in with that code. Sometimes you're not able to rename yourself because then everybody could rename themselves a code. So right now, if it was all of us, right now, according to my access code, the only one who would be available to vote would be Rachel. So everyone would have to have an access code in order to vote. So if you are running an election, my job would be, okay, I'm looking down and I see Luis Lolito doesn't have an access code. Hey, Esther, Luis Lolito, do you have an access code for him? And then as it,
Yes,
because
I do. I'll go ahead and change them now. Hi, Mr. Lolito. And then
so
I'll
she
change it.
would then change it. So we would go down the list, right? And make sure that everyone has a code. Does that make sense? Once everybody has a code, let's say Michael Daytona doesn't have a code. We go, hi, Michael, we see that you don't have a code. Can you, let us know who you are? Now, Esther, as a
I'm going to
parent,
be like, that's the assistant principal or something. He doesn't need a code. I'll go ahead and update it. So I could change it to AP or something so that everybody knows that he's not a parent.
right, and then we can keep him as co-host so that he's not part of our voting process and if two or more people are running for a position. Now, if Michael Daytona was a parent and I would say, Michael and Esther would communicate privately to see and verify the child, she would create a code. If Michael Daytona never unmuted himself and never chatted with our parent coordinator, then we would say, Michael, I'm so sorry, we cannot verify you. So at this time, you will not be able to vote. So at that time, they can still stay for the meeting, right? But we would make them a co-host so that they will not get the ballot. Does that make sense? So once we've verified everyone, okay, we then go to the positions that we have available. Okay, so it is 7:36. We're now going to open the elections for PS 209. At this time, we're going to be looking for 3 core positions. We're looking for president, recording secretary, and treasurer. At this time, we're going to open up the floor and go for the president position. And then we talk a little bit about what the president does. Maybe if you want to have like a PowerPoint up and just have a description of the duties and then say, at this time, we are taking nominations. Now, you can take nominations from the floor or you can take nominations prior. Let's say someone wanted to come, but they couldn't come to the meeting. So they can nominate themselves and then send in a statement or not send in a statement, but they have to have told the nominating committee. So at this time, we're having a president. So does anyone want to nominate themselves? Does anyone want to nominate themselves? Anyone?
Come on, you guys. It's pretend. It's pretend
Pretend,
here.
don't worry. you're
Is
going
this, is this make believe, right?
Yes, this
Yes,
is
yes.
Lisa.
Okay, I'm running.
Okay, so
Make believe.
It's a trap. It's a trap.
It's a make believe.
okay, so can
It's a
you?
trap.
So you would say, hi, I'm Lisa Castillo. I want to nominate myself as president. Okay, so now we have, okay, Lisa Castillo has nominated president. Are there any other nominations?
Does the nomination need to be seconded?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh.
The floor is still open. So we're looking for what the nominating committee has to do is to make sure that, you know, people go ahead and nominate themselves. So you are the first one. You cannot close a nominating, a position until you count it 3 times. Francis has not done that. You're the first one. So let's see who else.
Anyone else nominate? Now let's say, someone said, well, I nominate Rachel, right? Let's just say, I nominate Rachel. They put it in the chat. So then we say, Rachel, you have been nominated for president. Do you accept this nomination?
Yes, I'll accept the nomination.
Okay, so now we have 2 people. Now, being that we have 2 people, we have a ballot, right? We have to create a ballot. So you make a ballot, but we continue on. Okay, so now we have Lisa Castillo and we have Rachel. Are there any other nominations? Nobody says anything. And then if you have any translations, you would wait, right? And translate it for them to make sure that everyone, and before every election, make sure you understand your community and what translations you need for them that evening. Ask your parents, is anyone going to need translations? And please have that ready for your meeting. Because there are people who do want to run that don't speak English, and we have to support them. So, so make sure that you give time and make that support available for your community. So at this time, we just have Lisa and Rachel. So at this time, we only have Lisa and Rachel. I'm about to close the president nominations, going once, going twice. Okay, 3 times we have closed the nominations for president. We have Lisa and Rachel running. And
And
then,
this is where the PC's all excited. Yeah, we have 2
So
people
now-
running for president. Yes, thank you, thank you.
so at this
Can
point,
we share the position? Oh, I'm
okay,
sorry.
so that's good. So right now, Lisa said, can we share the position? At this
Oh.
time, because I've closed it, no.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
if I did not close it, Lisa, that's a good question.
Right.
And you said, I would like to share the position, that would be something you have to say. I cannot say that, right? But if you said it, then Rachel would say, Rachel, would you be willing to be a co-president with Lisa? And
Yes, of course.
so then if Rachel decides yes, then you can, and then you would now this would turn into, okay, so they're running for co-presidents, Lisa and Rachel, anyone else? And if no one else, we say going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, we have closed the nominations with one. Can I get someone to second that? And someone would say, hi, I second that, because that just shows as a witness of that vote, right? And you only need 1 vote because you're the only ones running, right?
And it could, when you do that vote, it could be as elaborate. So I would be like, I, Esther Maludo, cast a vote for Lisa and Rachel to be co-presidents of PS 5000 for the school year, blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah,
that's
then
it.
you can still say all in favor,
Yeah.
say aye or raise your hand, just to keep completing it and just making it more inclusive. And that's it. But Rachel could have also said no. But once it says nominations have been closed, and if we've had this before in elections where we've closed out, we've already given the position, and someone writes in the chat, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't know that you finished, casting for vice president. I wanted to nominate myself, and we've already closed the position. So we
Also,
can undo it,
Can I bring something up, Francis?
Yeah.
One of the things that have come up in the past, and I want to shed light on it, is that say that Francis has been the president at your school for the last 3 years, and this is the last year that she can run as president, because remember, you have to make room for new people. But say she comes in as a co-president, as a co-running with somebody else, then she can continue to go ahead and run for president. Now, if somebody at the school continues to be the president, that's because there's nobody else that's running. That person can continue to run. But as I think it's 3 years, am I correct, Francis? So if I've been the
Every
president,
bylaw, some bylaws don't have a term, but if you do put in a term, usually it's like 2 to 3 years.
yeah. So the
Um,
bylaws, It's so that different people could go ahead and be the president of your school. But if, say, Frances has been the president for the last 3 years and her term is coming up, and now Rachel comes along and wants her as co, this is basically a new position for Frances because she's running as co. It's not president anymore. So then she could go ahead and run again. So you have to be very careful with that because a lot of people ask that, oh, why is Esther still the secretary? She's been the secretary for 4 years. And it could be because maybe nobody's ran against me and then I could go ahead and run. And if somebody was to run against me, I could go ahead and run with somebody else and be a co, secretary or whatever position there that is.
So let's say I've been president of
sorry.
the school for the term that's allowed. So now let's say now that there's elections, I cannot nominate myself because according to my bylaws, I cannot run again unless nobody runs. So let's say at this point, so I wouldn't say, hey, I nominate myself, because then that would kind of not, allow someone else to do it. If I cannot, I stay quiet. If no one else comes to the plate to be president, then I can say, you know what, then I'll nominate myself again. Now, let's say I nominate myself and someone decides, well, you know what, I'll do it. I have to now remove myself from the ballot because the bylaws say that the minute somebody comes, I cannot run against them because my term is up. So I hope that makes sense. But again, you recruit. Don't wait until the election to start asking parents. You have to have these conversations with them beforehand. A lot of the times, the best way to have elections is to come already prepared. There's always room for nominations from the floor, but at least you have people that are willing to step into these positions. You don't want to be in a position where you're doing an election and then you don't have quorum of parents attending or quorum of doing. Yes, Rachel, you have a question.
So since you mentioned going from president to co-president is a new position, if you then spend, say, 2 years as co-president, could you then say run for treasurer or recording secretary?
Yes, and I believe you can run again for president after that gap, right?
Yeah.
Because it's 3 years in a row.
Mm.
So
So
just
okay, so your term's up, you ran with Francis, your year is up, and next year you want to run alone again, then you can, because there was already a break within that bylaws, the terms, So
Yeah.
remember that
Okay.
being part of the PAPTA, the term is 1 year from July to the end of school. That's a term. But when it comes to what we're talking about is the repetition of a position within your school. So a lot of them have 3 years, I believe, but you would have to check your bylaws for that, just
Yeah,
to
our
make sure.
our bylaws is 2 years.
Okay.
okay. 2 years consecutively, right?
Right.
Yes.
So
say so you're the president, this is the end of your second year, you go ahead, then you decide, okay, if somebody ran for president or co, you could go ahead, for president, then you could be the treasurer, you could be the secretary, you could be, something else. And next year after this, the whole year is over, you could go ahead and run back for president if you want.
And that's just there to ensure that everyone gets a chance if they want to be, because sometimes people will stay in a position for a very long time and then people feel intimidated to run against them. So this is why these conditions are there, and that's if your school wants it. There are some schools that don't have any terms, but if you feel it's necessary, then you speak to your general membership and get that amended into your bylaws. I do recommend that you look at your bylaws. Every 3 years, you have to update your bylaws. And if you don't have co-positions in your bylaws, I do recommend that you put them in. Sometimes a lot of parents don't want to come in by themselves, but they're willing to come in with someone else. So, and 6 people better than 3, right? To help out in the PTA. So you want to put in as many people. And then there's other non-mandatory positions like corresponding secretary. We have like a website editor. We have advertising. We have fundraising. Like you can make up different committees of different positions, but they all still have to be approved by the general membership before you put them in. So let's say you don't get every position, but you got the president or the recording secretary or at least one mandatory position in May. You would then hold expedited elections in June. And if that doesn't work, then you'll have to hold in September. I do not recommend that you wait until September because, we're all coming back from the summer. And then we have to go into expedited elections where there is no nominating committee. All the nominations are coming from the floor and it becomes a little chaotic. But you still at least have a PTA with a mandatory position. You still have a PTA, but you cannot do business. You can't vote if you don't have quorum in the board, right? You're not going to have quorum with one person. So just to let you know. So after you've done your elections and you've closed it out, usually you go into the SLT elections, right? So after you've done that, now we're going to open up for recording secretary, and then you go down the same process. And right, if there's 2 or more people, there will be a vote. Okay, so if there's 2 people, again, before you create that ballot, and sometimes it gets a little crazy to create a ballot. Sometimes people say, I don't know how to do that, or it doesn't work well. Then you could do a Google form, right? And one time I had to do this, which was when Zoom just first started and we started doing elections. And I had about 30 people and the ballot wasn't working. And
I remember that.
we did not have a Google form. So I had to have everyone send me their vote privately.
Oh,
in
sorry,
chat.
Francis.
And that was the only way. Either that or we had to just end the meeting. And then we did it. And then I gave the numbers of how many votes, because you always want to be transparent. And then you take those numbers and you send it to the school so that they can put that in their minutes. But you have to just make it work. But there was one school one time that didn't even have enough people in the meeting to vote. So please make sure that you have at least 2 board members existing and then 6 parents. So you need 8 people to meet quorum. That's usually the norm for the quorum. I've seen schools that give themselves an even bigger quorum. I wouldn't recommend that because the more people that you have for a quorum, you're not going to be able to do an election because then you need those people there. So if the chancellor's regulations say 8, make that your quorum. Make that your minimum quorum. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so after that, when you have finished and closed off the elections and all positions have been filled, let's say you just wanted to do the mandatory positions and you'll do the regular other positions in September, you can. But it's always good to just kind of make your whole board, because then over the summer you can kind of talk about what you're going to do in September, and then you can kind of get things ready. Because once September starts, there's a lot of work that we have to prepare for the rest of the year. After the elections are done, let's say, Lisa and Rachel are now presidents. I'll say, okay, at this time it is 7:51 that our PTA elections have ended. And now I will give it over to Lisa and Rachel, and you will now do your SLT elections. Now, the nominating committee can still continue to do your SLT, or you can pass it over to the new presidents and let them do it. And the same thing goes with SLT. Now, can the president of the PTA get an automatic seat in the SLT? Any other members of the PTA can still run for SLT as a parent member. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. And then once your SLT, and then Esther, correct me if I'm wrong, then they have the PAC, right? That's not at the same night. That's a different night, right? If it's a Title I school.
So we could go ahead. There a lot of the PCs are doing it now to get a PAC, if you're Title I school, to have it. In October, that's when the principal does a presentation to go ahead and teach all the school about, Title I, the funding, what's it all about. but a lot of the PCs are are doing it. So it'd be PAPTA elections, close that, SLT elections, and then your PAC, if you're a Title I.
And the same night.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So there you go. And then you're done. Then after the election, you have to stay on the, the Zoom with or in person with everyone. They have to fill out, you have to get their contact information, their name, their phone number, their email, and you fill out an election form for Esther and you give it to her so she can file it with our district. So we keep track of all the schools and we need to be in compliance. If a school doesn't have a PTA, then they're not in compliant with the district. So we have to make sure that our schools. And just to let you know, then we go off to have our President's Council elections where people who already have had their elections can participate. So that's why we recommend that you kind of do them in May so that in June you can participate. If you wait, we have a set quorum. What's our quorum, Esther, for our district?
8. We're
So
8.
once 8 schools have done their elections, we can go and continue on with our President's Council. We have about 34 schools. So if 20 schools have not done it, 20 schools will not be able to nominate themselves or be nominated for the President's Council. So we do not have to wait for every school to do their elections, is my point. So please try to do them early. When are they mostly done? Rachel, when are you doing yours? In May? May?
We
You're
can't
mu-
hear you.
Yes, sorry, yes, the fourth Wednesday in May, we're having our election.
Okay, so then
So say that, say that Rachel was not successful to getting one of the 3. So what we strive for at District 25 is that you get the core membership, the executive board, which would be your president, treasurer, and recording secretary, those 3. Say for whatever reason, she was only able to get recording secretary and treasurer, but they had their thing in May. So in June, they could go ahead and have an election for that missing component, whoever is missing. So they have a second chance to go ahead and do that. It's not just a one time. So say your elections were set for May, whatever, May the 4th, or May the 3rd, and you didn't have, you weren't successful, you were only able to get one person, that's still fine, but you want to go ahead and try to fill the 3 positions so you don't have to worry about them in September. And you could go ahead and do that again. So then I just wanted to say, once everybody has a PAPTA and you're in compliance and you fill out your election certification form, then Francis will go ahead and we'll host the same thing here, like a PAPTA elections, but it's the district elections for President's Council. And anybody who's a president at their school is eligible to come and run for a position at the district office. And what do we need? We need a president or COS, secretary, recording secretary or COS, treasurer or COS. This year, what are we? We started as COS, but we ended up as president. So, yeah, so we have one of each in our positions, I think, right? No, is
I think
Carlos
all
and
of our positions are COs.
are
I
they?
I
I don't
won't
remember.
I won't be part of any school because I'm transitioning from elementary to
I don't want to
middle
hear
school.
that.
So this will be my last. I will still be here to support the district and support any parents who, who need my help. But I will have a year until September. I won't be part of any school. So.
So with that, we're going to need people to step up as president or COS again for the district. And you would be working with me and I'll help you every way. And Francis is very helpful. Francis and I have been working together for the past 8 years, 9 years, 8 years, right? So we've been working together. Francis has been part of President's Council in all capacities. So we thank her for her dedication and time to that. And so let me just tell you right here. So Francis Gonzalez is the president. We have Rachel and Carlos as the recording secretaries. and Angela is a treasurer. So we have a mix. We have president. It started as co's. We ended as president. Recording secretary, we're at co's, and treasurer, we're at one person. So it could stay the same for next year, or, you know, it depends on the people that are running, but we are going to need people once you're elected to your PAPTAs as president to come on over to the district and help us out. And I will help you and Francis will help us too.
Yeah, and when I can't make a meeting, I ask one of the board members to come. We were able to work together and host the CEC elections, I mean, the candidate forums. So, you know, we help each other. And I have to say, we had a really good group this year. And, you know, we just support our schools. That's what president's councils do. We listen, we intervene when we have to help and support our schools, because it's not an easy job sometimes. We're all working parents. We have other things that we have to take care of. But most importantly, our children are in schools, right? And they're getting an education, and it's our job to make sure that they're getting the best education they could possibly get at this time. So that's our job as parent leaders. So we appreciate you all, and you make our jobs easier and our district jobs easier. So thank you. So at this time, you know, Lisa, you're president now of our PTA, and Rachel, so it was not a joke, and now we have a lot of work for you to do. No, I'm kidding. So
I have a,
go ahead,
I
Rachel.
have a question. So next Wednesday, we're having our nominations meeting where I'm going to try and get a nomination committee. What if no one steps forward? Then we just do an expedited election the night of May?
Well, this is why I say that, you know, when you know you're having elections, you have to kind of speak to the parents, start, you know, speaking to them outside, look for those kindergarten parents, look for the parents graduating out, have conversations, just let them know, listen, would you like to be part of the nominating committee? All you have to do is just, you know, accept names of people who want to run. That's it.
So it will not be an expedited election, because you should leave it open to go ahead and take nominations from the floor the day of your meeting.
Okay.
So even though your next meeting is if you don't get anybody, you still should open it, you know, have nominations from the floor. Because how about if I'm on the fence and I want to run, but I'm still like iffy about it. And so say I show up to that meeting and you just have one person running and I'm still thinking about it. And if everything's closed, then I won't be able to run. So
But so we don't accept nominations at the April meeting. We just set up the nomination committee, or is it a combination of both?
You can, when you set up a nominating committee, they're supposed to, let's say I'm your nominating committee. Anybody who wants to run will send their resume or statement to me ahead of time.
So
You
not
don't
to the PTA's email.
No, it would be to the nominating committee. But if somebody does send you an
Okay.
email, if someone does send you, you can forward it to the nominating committee.
yeah.
I mean, you know, it's just, you just have to make sure that we're incorporating. And one of the things is, if someone does not have to be there to be part of the election. So let's say I submit my statement, or I don't submit a, I mean, if you're not going to be there, I would recommend have a statement, because how are people going to vote for you? You're not there, and then you have no statement. So it's like, you know, but then you could say, you know, Frances sent in a statement. She sent in her nomination. So we're going to put her on the ballot, and I'm going to read her statement. She's running for this position. And so when the position that I want to go for comes up, you would say my name. I do not have to be there, but it's to my disadvantage, right? If I'm not there. But if people know me, they might still vote for me. But it's
So
always
the
an advantage
reason
when you're there.
Sorry, the reason for the nominating committee is that you want to make sure that it's a fair process. And so that, you know, I, as your exiting president, and I really want, I don't know, Lewis to be the next president, that I don't, you know, do anything. So that's why you have a nominating committee who should be neutral, because they're either leaving the school or they're not running for a position, to go ahead and run your nominating your election, so that way that it is, you know, as fair and transparent as possible. And that's another reason why the parent coordinators are not allowed to run your elections, because again, I could say, you know what, I get along really good with, you know, so and so, and I really want them to do it. It's not fair to the other parents. So
Yeah,
it has to be as fair as possible.
yeah, and as being part of the nominating committee, you can't say, hey, why don't you guys run together or nominate someone? You cannot, you have to stay as neutral as possible.
Okay.
So just something to think about. There was one time that I was running for SLT, but I wasn't running for the PTA, so I hosted the PTA election. And then after that, I let the president, and then I ran for an SLT seat. But obviously, I couldn't run that election and then run for a seat.
I know that Annie has a question in regards to her school, and this could probably help in case it, Annie, so are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So Annie's situation at her school, one of her, what is it, your treasurer?
Recording secretary.
Your recording secretary is leaving. And we spoke about it before, Francis, but she's leaving. She was going to leave sooner, but now she's going to leave on the 27th, which will help cover their meeting in April. So now in May, do they have to have an expedited election to select the recording secretary that's leaving?
Well, are they having their regular elections?
They're having their elections, right, Annie?
Yes, regular elections are scheduled for May. Just wondering if I still need to hold an expedited election just to cover the recording secretary for 1 month.
So
I
you have,
say,
yeah, I'm gonna
I say no.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
good.
saying no, because it wouldn't make sense to put somebody in a seat for one day and then change it.
Yes.
You're gonna have to have regular elections.
Now, if it would have been the way it was original, then it would have been 2 months, April and May, and then I feel that you would
Yes.
have to have
Yes.
replace
1
that
month.
seat. Yes.
Right, for
But
1 month.
because if you're like, you know,
Well,
you're having
the good thing
elections.
is- Yeah, the good thing is you have 2 other people, right? So that, you remember what I said, for an election, you need 2 board members and 6 parents. So that you would meet quorum to have this election without that board member.
Okay.
So
So
no,
I
no
would just
expedited.
wait till May, start telling parents, and then just fill in those 3 seats again.
Okay. Because I'm drafting the election
But
flyer now.
just know, how many people you have on your board?
Just the 3 of us.
Okay, so the 3 of you, so 2 would be quorum, right? So
Right.
then here's my question, Esther. They meet quorum as a board, because it's 2, right? 2 would be
Mhm.
quorum. So can they still do business and vote without the 3rd person?
It can.
Okay.
Because
that's-
remember, Chancellor's regulation was changed a while back where one person meets quorum, but you still have to have, you know, I mean, one person is, you know, a PAPTA, but you need to meet quorum. So
So that
if
would
you
always-
Yeah,
have
my
the,
quorum is 2 and 6. So 2
That's-
executive and 6 general
yeah,
membership.
and if you
Right,
have
that's
that, then you
for-
can
that's
have
for
a meeting.
general membership, but for the board in itself, when you do your own like voting stuff,
Mhm.
but you could always just do it at the general meetings.
Yeah.
But, you know, yeah. Okay.
I think we should be good. I think we should have more than 8 schools represented at President's Council so that we could elect our next year's people.
I do recommend that you do a mock election with your board. Just do a mock, and so that way you can kind of get into the rhythm of it and then kind of see where your gaps are. And that's it.
That's it.
So happy elections to all of you. You should start recruiting parents now and let them know that we need them and how important they are.
I
one
like that. Happy elections. Yes.
Happy elections. And one good thing is to let parents know exactly what the PTA does. It's not just collecting monies. We give assemblies, we give supplies, we support our schools, we provide trips, we provide a lot of things for our students. And sometimes when parents know these things, they do want to take part of it.
Yeah.
So
Now, I know it's supposed to be neutral, but if we're getting pressure to run for president again, and we're apprehensive because we don't know if we're gonna have enough support under us, is then it appropriate for us to talk to like the ones that are currently in the positions to see if they're gonna run again?
Yeah,
to
you
try
Your
to-
nominating committee should ask that.
Okay,
Yeah, you can always listen, people, if they like what your work, I've been always pressured to go and be president. Francis, what are you doing? Francis, you're gonna run, so it's like, it's the same thing. Someone
Oops,
likes
sorry.
your work, Rachel, and they say, Rachel, you really are good at what you do. Rachel has to decide, is it something you want to do again? You don't have to. Nobody's forced into these positions. You just, parents see, parents like, I like to support parent leaders that are doing a good job, because then I don't have to do it myself and I could just vote for you and support you. So we always need support, but you kind of have to support your school. And if no one is stepping up, then how are you going to do that? So that's why a lot of people, we joke around, we say no eye contact, right? And we say nobody look, nobody looks up. No, but then at the end, you always get like, all right, I'll do it. You'll always get that parent leader. And
Yeah.
that's why we're called parent leaders, because we step up and we say, you know what, we're gonna do. I have to tell you, what I find amazing is parents that never thought that they could be in these positions because for whatever reason they thought they couldn't do it. And then they get into these positions and they're so great at it. And it's like, wow, and they realize something about themselves. So yeah. So I just wanted to say it's you always will get support. And if not, Esther and I will support you. We've supported all of our PTAs whenever they needed us, and to make sure, and that's one reasons why one of our districts is very high performing with our PTAs. Annie, welcome, Annie. We're here for you. It doesn't matter, you contact us during the break or not. We answer your questions. So it's okay. We know that sometimes you guys need answers right away and it gets complicated. So
I'm gonna stop the recording now.
okay, we're gonna stop the recording. Thank you for being here. It is 8:10.